welcome to day 2 of the Restore and Recover series. Today's class is focused on opening through the hips nice and deeply. And for equipment, we will need some yoga blocks, or perhaps instead of some yoga blocks, y'all can find another object that resembles a yoga block, like a thick book or dictionary, whatever you have. And we're gonna get right into it. So we're gonna go ahead and start by placing both of the blocks right beside us. Again, this is optional. Again, if for those of us who are very flexible, you don't have to use the blocks, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to be showing both ways. But we're going to go ahead and start with our right foot forward in a nice low lunge position, and our back left leg, the left knee, is going to be on the floor here, and my left toes are tucked at the moment. But we're going to go ahead and set up here in a nice deep lunge position. Now already you're gonna feel a nice and deep release in the front line here of the hips on the left side, specifically what we're on. And again, the yoga blocks are there to guide you, and you can have them by your sides in a lower position, or y'all can bring them up so y'all can keep it in a tall position so y'all can get a little bit deeper here. But for my friends who are flexible or do not have some blocks, y'all can also just come all the way with the fingertips on the floor and touching the floor here, or perhaps bringing your hands by your hips and shifting a little bit forward for the hips so you can really feel that nice and deep enhancement for the hips. Nice work. And once you find a good position here, we're gonna go ahead and slowly come into a position where we can hold, really feeling a nice sensation opening through that hip flexor and a little bit of our chest. Although we did, if you're following along in the series, we did do chest yesterday and arms. So if you missed that, make sure to check it out. But you can also feel free to close the eyes here once you find a nice deep form that you feel is the most comfortable here. And even if it's not the most comfortable, finding some more comfort in an uncomfortable state, I like to say, because we want to make sure nothing is going to be comfortable 100%, especially when we're stretching. So you might find a little discomfort, but trying to find a little bit more space and breath work through that discomfort that you may feel, or you might feel really good today. So wherever you are, we're going to keep holding on onto this one side, and we'll slowly transition to the other side here, trying to relax those shoulders away from those ears as much as you can. Try to really lift through the legs and the hips, and see if you can gently go a little bit more forward, finding more space into the hip flexors today. Beautiful work, everyone. We'll be here for a couple more moments before we switch to the other side. Beautiful work. And let's go ahead on your next exhalation. Slowly transition onto the left side forward. So now gently coming back into our tall kneeling stance here. Now tucking the right toes down. We're gonna go ahead and step forward with that left foot and coming a little bit deeper, finding a good space, again, with or without the yoga blocks today. See if you can lean a little bit more forward in towards the hips. Again, this is just our first stretch and release posture, so no need to go extremely deep in this one, but even if it's a little micro inch forward, see if you can get a little bit more space in through that front line of our body here. Nice. And once you find a comfortable position to hold, we can just simply keep our eyes gently open, or you can keep your eyes closed. Relaxing the facial features here, making sure you're not holding tension in your facial features, and trying to relax through the forehead, through the eyes, through your nose and your mouth and your cheeks. Perhaps keeping your mouth slightly open as we breathe in on a complete inhalation, and with every exhalation, really feeling any kind of negativity, any kind of pain, discomfort leaving the body. And with every inhalation, deeply just nourishing the body and filling the body back up with only positive vibes here. Beautiful work, everyone. We'll be here for a couple more moments, moving it a little bit deeper, even if it's a little bit more forward, a little inch forward to get a little bit deeper in the hip, on the right hip specifically. Beautiful. We'll take one more deep and complete cycle of breath here. And on your next exhalation, slowly coming back into our starting position, back into a tall kneeling position where we're gonna go ahead and slightly rest here, taking a moment to reset through the hips. And we're gonna go ahead and transition now onto back to our first side. And if you did have the blocks, feel free to keep them aside. And we're gonna go ahead and step forward again with that right foot here. And now we're gonna go ahead and place both hands, the fingertips, on the floor. And as we lift that back knee up, my left knee here, we're gonna go ahead and bring now, either keeping the fingertips on the floor, or if you can, bringing your palms all the way down to the floor. Holding here for just a moment. Inhale, nice deep inhale here. And on your exhalation, we're gonna gently, slowly coming into our pigeon. So now bringing your knee more in a 45-degree flexion in the front, or for my flexible friends, coming more into a 90-degree flexion. And the back knee is going to be on the floor with the leg gently relaxing and extended back. And again, feel free to hold this position here. If any time you do need some support, again, you feel free to use the yoga blocks to keep them by your sides, or you can just gently, slowly bring your palms down, slide bend those elbows, and gently keep your chest nice and lifted here. And again, if you need to adjust the hips, lifting the hips off the floor and placing it back down so you find a good position where you can find a comfortable and extended position for the legs, especially the back leg. And now, when you like to come a little bit deeper, of course, you can feel free to stay here, but if you like to come a little bit deeper, you can feel free to challenge your body and your strength stretching today by keeping your elbows and your forearms on the floor here and just holding here. Or for my friends who like to go even further and deeper, you can come all the way into a sleeping swan. I'm gonna shift a little bit more back because I realized I stepped a little bit too forward for this one, but for the demonstration purposes, again, keeping yourself in a low position, or coming onto sleeping swan all the way, bringing your forehead perhaps all the way down to the earth and bringing your hands in front of you in a lengthened position and just relaxing everything here all the way down to the earth. And again, option for the hands, if you'd like to get even further, you can feel free to interlace the arms up and away from the body and lifting and holding here, but only for those of us who feel like this is the right variation today. Again, no need to pressure yourself in any variation, just feel free to take what is best for you today. Again, this is all levels, so I want to make sure everyone feels like they are being met in where they need to be today. So wherever variation you are in, either keeping the eyes gently open and soft and relaxed, or bringing your eyes to a full and deep close, just focusing on the breath work here. With more time passing by, you should really slowly and gently starting to feel a deep release into our hips and our buttocks here. Should feel like a really good deep release. Again, we are using gravity to do the work. We're not forcing anything, but just allowing the body to gently and deeply open and nourish our bodies from a lot of the hard work that we do in our daily lives. Beautiful. And we'll stay here for a couple more moments before we transition to the other side. Continuing to flow through the breath. Nice deep inhale through the nose and deep exhalation out through the mouth. And if you like to take the breath work deeper, you can continue to breathe in and out, both through the nostrils, and keeping the mouth closed if that's in your practice. Stay here for the last full cycle of breath on this side. And on your next exhalation, slowly rising up again. If you were in the more intense variations, feel free to come back into the starting position, back onto your palms. And from here, keeping your hands on the floor in contact, bringing that left toes down to hook. Your right leg will lift simultaneously with that back leg lifting, and we'll go ahead and switch sides, coming back into a high plank position just for a brief moment, and bringing now the left knee and the leg into that 45 or 90-degree flexion, and then releasing all the way through that back right leg now. Again, finding either the tall position here, the half position, or coming into the lowest variation, all the way down onto the floor if that feels like that is your calling today. Once you find a good position to hold, keeping the eyes nice and soft, either keep them open or closed, and gently focusing back into our breath today. With every breath, really feeling your body relaxing, each breath contributing to a little bit more openness, a little bit more stillness in the mind. With time passing by more and more, really feeling your muscle groups deeply more and more open, more and more nourished, so that you can come into a full body deep relaxation, not only in the physical but also in the mental today. Coming into our deep cycles of breathing. Nice deep inhalation, really feeling the chest, the lungs, and the heart opening with every breath. And with every exhalation, feeling that heat and nourishment in the abdomen, and feeling that navel press in towards your spine deeply. Cycling through every single breath with intention and purpose. Feeling your muscles deeply relaxing as you deep breathe through the cycles of intention. We'll stay here for last full cycle of breath, last opportunity to get deeper into this last side of this pose. And on your next exhalation, slowly rising up if you were in the deeper forms today. And feel free to, again, reset the body back into plank, or you can follow along what I'm doing here, bringing the other leg back and meeting in a butterfly position, where we're gonna go ahead and transition into our forward fold. So I am currently demonstrating the variation of or with a butterfly. But again, if y'all prefer to not do a butterfly today, I'm gonna turn to the side so y'all can see a little bit better for the leg placements. But if you're doing a traditional forward fold, we can go ahead and just gently extend the knees, and again, shifting your hips nice and neutral with the spine, so you can feel free to lift the hips up, shimmy the legs back, so that way you can kind of find a nice placement with the pelvic hip bones and the spine, because if your hips are a little bit more forward and you try to come down and deep, it doesn't really line up as fluid. So it's very, very important for alignment purposes to keep your hips and pelvis in line with the body, with the spine. From here, bending a tall spine here. Imagine someone has a string lifting your head nice and lifted. On the next inhalation, reaching your arms overhead. And on the exhalation, again, feel free to reach on your quads if you can't quite reach all the way down, or the shins. Or again, feel free to gently hold on to your toes, or for some of us who are extremely flexible, y'all can either find placement on the outside of your feet or even inside of the arches, but I personally like the outside better. And again, if you for some reason did heavy intense leg day the day before, you can feel free to keep the knees bent and come into this position. Again, no need to force anything, right? If you feel very enhanced and too much sometimes for a stretch, especially for your legs, you can just simply come into a half forward fold. We're gently partaking in the forward fold, but it's not as deep and intense as a traditional full forward fold. Now I'm going to be demonstrating with the butterfly, but for those of us who would like to use the blocks here, you can feel free to keep the block in front of you. And same idea here, but except we're keeping the toes together and the heels together. And as we reach inhalation, lifting the spine up, and on exhalation, again, reaching forward onto our yoga block here, or a book, or a pillow even, and gently holding in this position here. Or without the block, it'll look exactly the same, just reaching forward with the fingertips here. Nice deep inhales and exhales here. And if you are in the butterfly form, just allowing the hips to gently come down towards the earth with every breath. No need to force your elbows down onto your hips or anything like that, but just gently with the time that we take in this pose. And with gravity, the help of gravity, your knees are going to want to gently open even further down to the earth. You can even close the eyes here if that feels comfortable, and just gently feeling that nice and deep forward fold and release in through the hips and the legs and the spine. With the breath work that we're doing today, really finding a little bit more space, finding a little bit more of a depth in your forward fold today. You don't necessarily have to physically move into a more intense release, but just mentally finding a little bit more space and opening through the hip flexors, really imagining those hip flexors releasing and visualizing all the muscle groups involved, gently releasing. With time, you are going to notice a deeper enhancement in our inner thigh, our groin area. And anytime if it does feel uncomfortable, you can feel free to place some pillows underneath your knees if you are in the butterfly position. And really starting to feel that opening and deep release from the hips. This yin yoga inspired flow, along with restorative yoga combination class, it's really great to start to feel and nourish our body with time. A lot of us in static traditional stretches may not hold the stretch as long as we are holding in each pose like we are in this class. And you're gonna find that with more time you stay in a pose, the deeper you're gonna feel that release, which is such a gift because we tend to not focus too long on stretches, usually on static stretches. So really finding a nice opening in this series is my hope, and finding a little bit more extra space and time, whether this routine is added into your daily life somehow, either after a workout or as just something for yourself. time for yourself. As we spend a lot of time for other people in our daily lives, this is a gift for yourself to show up for yourself today and to say thank you to your body today through all of its daily hard work that it performs for us. And we'll stay here for one more full cycle of breath. Nice deep inhalations and complete exhalations here. And on your next exhalation, slowly, if you had your knees in a butterfly position, slowly and gently bring your knees back into the center. It might feel quite intense because we were in that position for quite some time. But if it feels comfortable, feel free to again come back into our seated position where we conclude today's session. Keeping the eyes closed here if that feels comfortable. Thanking your body and your mind for showing up today. The first step in prioritizing your health and yourself is to show up. And I hope that today's class enabled any kind of sensation, perhaps any soreness, and releasing that tension that you may have felt before this class. And I hope even if it was just a little bit of a release for you today, or even a deep release, I hope that you found a little bit more space and nourishment in your hips and the legs. Until next time, I will see y'all and have a wonderful day. Bye y'all.